Hello guys, in this tutorial, very shortly, I'm gonna show you how to create a module in Zen Framework 2. Of course, using Codenvy, again phpcloud and GitHub. So let me start with our ingredients, so GitHub. After that, Codenvy, our IDE. And I explained it in the previous lessons why I'm using Codenvy, because I needed WinSCP, a native SFTP client, to create my sensitive files in phpcloud and phpcloud, of course, my development environment. So let me log in first in GitHub, because I'm gonna use OpenID to log into my Codenvy account. Okay, so just a second to enter my password. I know there are so many places where this process is explained, but I wanna be explicit and make sure that my students in this sequence of lections know how to create a module, because this is how I'm gonna evaluate them. I'm gonna ask them to create a controller in the skeleton application with their names. I'm gonna ask them to create a module again with their names. So this is the goal. I just will use OpenID. Login in. So the module which I'm gonna create will be named FMI student. By purpose, I'm using two words, not only one, and phpcloud. Log into phpcloud. Okay, in the previous lessons I showed you how to fork the original repository in GitHub, so I have my own copy. Just before I forget, I have to mention that right now I'm playing the role of the student. Actually, today I was thinking that I'm not gonna work anymore on the original repo in GitHub. All I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play the role of the student as everybody else in the university. So I'm gonna develop on my local fork in GitHub. Not, of course, here. I'm not gonna develop here, but I'll push all my changes here, and after that send a pull request to the owner of the original project, and in this case it happens to be me as well, and all I have to do is just fetch and merge after that. So in the original repo, all I'm gonna do is just fetching and merging. Okay, I'm opening here as a student my fork of the original project, and let's create the let me try first to make sure that everything works here. Yeah, my application works. From the previous lessons, as I said, I have created controller which is called Stoyan Chereshorov index. Hopefully, yeah, it works. This is actually our goal. I'm gonna create one module which simply will say index.html. I have created already such module, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create FMI student module. Okay, module. As you can see, I have 3 modules here. I'm creating a new one. It starts by creating a folder which I'm gonna call FMI student. Create, and the obligatory is just to have Let me use the applications we have and we all very well know. So I'm gonna use the album application, the tutorial application, which is very well explained. Here I'm gonna create the module PHP file. New PHP file, I'm gonna call it module. Of course, this is not gonna be the content. Module. Yes. I'm gonna show what I'm gonna put inside. Of course, I have to create a class module. That's absolutely obligatory. It's necessary. Let me copy this actually from my other module. It's the same like in the album, almost the same like in the album, except the part for table data gateway and the model. Okay, so this is the minimum which is required. Of course, I'm gonna change here the namespace fmi student get autoloader config class map. Let me check if everything is okay. Yeah, I think so. Now, as you can see here, we have to create another file, autoload class map, which is just one empty array. Let me create this as well. Oh, yeah, here it is. New PHP file. I'm gonna name this autoload class map, and just to make sure that I'm not making any spell mistakes, I'm gonna copy this from my other class map. By chance I may make a mistake, so that's why it's better just to copy and paste. So I have the minimum requirements, module, autoload. Of course, I have to have a module config PHP. I'm creating the folder config. In our newly created module, and here again PHP file called module config PHP. Module config PHP. Show you the content of this file. Copying from one existing module. All we have to do is just copy from existing modules. And I'm going to remove this because it's not necessary. So here I have all the namespace definitions. Okay, FMI student. I'm gonna create only one controller called index, FMI student. Again, FMI student index controller. This is for the service manager. And since I don't want to go back and forth and just push and put commit again and add, so I'm gonna create everything for the module. I'm gonna create the controllers as well, and after that I'm gonna do add, commit and push. Okay, so this is the minimum requirements. Of course, we don't have to put this if that's the minimum. The root, we don't need that, but as I said, I just will continue with creating the rest of the module config. Now we need the controllers, which is in folder src source. Now I'm gonna repeat again the name of the module, FMI student, inside controller folder, and inside I'm gonna create our single controller, which is called index controller. Index controller PHP. Here we go. We have the structure almost done. Let me put the content. I can copy the content for example, from the application. Let me do that. From the skeleton application, index controller, I just will copy this and paste it in my index controller, taking care of the namespaces. FMI student, index controller, index view. Okay, so that's the index controller. Now we have to take care of the view, and our controller is ready to work. Of course, we have to register the controller and make sure that the application is aware about this controller. So let me take care of the view, create a folder view. Sorry. Inside we have to create FMI student folder. Just pay attention on the way I'm creating the names. FMI-student, and inside I'm gonna put another folder called index, which corresponds to the name of the controller. It's called index, and inside, for each one of the actions, in this case I have only one action, I'm gonna create a PHTML file called index, again corresponding to the name of the action, PHTML, and I'm ready. Let me put a word. I'm in index PHTML in the module FMI student. Oops, sorry. FMI student. Okay. So that's all we have to do in order to create a module. It's not that difficult. Let me make sure that I didn't forget anything. Let me look at again the source code, and after that I will make the application aware about my module. Module, here it is. Module, the namespace. It's a simple namespace. The module is a simple namespace. Public function get autoloader. Yeah, so far so good. Autoload class map, return empty array, configuration file. Let me make sure. FMI student controller index. That's invocables. FMI student controller index controller. This is how we are gonna call our index controller. Oops, here it is. Controller is FMI student. And here, of course, FMI student. I will keep it as it is. I can put here controller, and after that action, but yeah, I will keep it as I said, as it is right now. FMI student controller index, FMI student controller index controller. Roots segment FMI student. So if I type FMI students and I say index, is gonna be called index action. And if I want to send a parameter which is called ID, I can do that. I just wanted to show that. Constraints, yeah, it's a regular expressions which says A to Z, capital and small letters, 0 to 9 underscore dash. Okay, defaults controller. If I don't put explicitly action, it's gonna be called index controller, which I want actually. It's not mentioned action controller actually. It's gonna be called index controller. Yeah, this is exactly what I want. Okay, so far so good. Let me check now the controller. FMI student, the right namespace, index controller, exactly the same like in the skeleton application, and the view, FMI student index here. We don't have to pay too much attention on that. So the last thing to do is just make the application aware about all this. How many files actually do we have? Module, auto class, second one, third module config, index controller, and index PHTML. So actually we need 5 files to create a module and make this module manifest its existence. Okay, and the sixth thing is just to add this to the application config PHP file to make the application aware about our new module, and I'm gonna call it FMI student. Brilliant. So let me save that. Let's do git add. I hope I didn't make any syntax errors, and we'll see that very shortly. Add repository. Okay, we are adding. FMI student was created. That's very nice, and I'm gonna push to phpcloud to make sure everything works, otherwise I'm gonna look for errors. FMI student. So I do now development on bigger chunks. As you can see, I have created 5 files, many folders, and after that I have pushed to the repository, which is on my development server, created a module by the name of FMI student or something like that. Okay, so committing updates. And finally I'm gonna push to phpcloud, and we will see what happens. If everything was right, we'll see our new module. Push. Yeah, first to Zend, of course. Okay, now let's see if the application still works. Yeah, it still works, so let's try FMI student index. Yeah, I'm in index PHTML in the module FMI student. So that was it. This is all I wanted to show today. Thank you for your attention. See you next time when we will be talking about JavaScript. We'll be becoming ninjas.